No intro music this week. Can't be bothered. I keep getting copyright warnings, so you just have to deal with us. Hello. Welcome back to the Don Pod. Thursday night preview. Not up and about, but anyway, we'll get there, I'm sure. Hello, Nathan.
Hello, Sam. I'll try and be up and about. Whoop, whoop.
I was not prepared for that. I mean, I hit all the buttons, and I still wasn't quite prepared for that.
It's amazing how you're not prepared for something we've been talking about.
Yeah.
Yeah.
My green screen's not behaving. It looks fine, and then it doesn't.
Oh, it's all curved. I see. Yeah.
It's annoying. Anyway.
What's that? Hang on.
Essendon, Sydney. Marvel Stadium.
Friday night footy, Sam.
24 hours away to the biggest game. I can't even pretend. We don't care.
Come on.
But we're here to have a chat and talk about why we're going to get flogged, but then tip us anyway. That's usually how it goes.
I'm in a different view on this one, but go.
All right. Out of the side goes Nicholas Cox concussion and Alwyn David Jr. Into the side comes. Oh, you think I'd write it down? Into the side comes Sam Wiedemann and Archie Perkins. I had it in my head. I was trying to do a thumbnail, had them all on my screen, and I've just forgotten.
You want me to do it?
Interesting changes. I wouldn't have dropped Davey Jr. personally. I would have thought Menzies would be the one to go out. But
I would agree with that. I think Menzies' issues are the way he bumbles so much frustrates us, but
what do I know?
Yeah, what do we know? We sit here in a darkened room. That's just me, sorry.
Yeah, that's just you. Funny though.
In our basements.
No, thankfully not quite that bad for me. So you're quite buoyant.
Have you done the Sydney ins and outs?
Oh, I haven't even looked at them, to be honest.
Do you want me to? Chad Warner and Robbie Fox are out for them.
Ooh.
Corey Warner's in, but he usually is a sub. And Lewis Melican, who, I'll be honest, I don't know a lot about.
Melican the Pelican, I've heard of him.
Melican the Pelican. He's a 27-year-old, 194 key defender. He's played a total of 79 games since his debut in 2017.
Right. Look, Chad Warner out's quite helpful.
Chad Warner's out. So that was the key for me.
Yeah. That helps. Still got guys like Errol Goulden,
Luke Parker,
Isaac Heaney.
There's a couple other guys that can play the game floating around in there too, but
yeah, they're not bad.
Taylor Adams.
Who? Never heard of him. Kill me. But you are quite buoyant. You're weirdly up and about, and I personally.
And do you want to know why?
Tell me.
I watched not all the game. I watched Sydney versus Collingwood.
Stinky, yeah.
Yeah, that was Friday night.
Yep. And
Sydney were atrocious. Seriously, atrocious in the first half. I watched the first half. Didn't watch the third quarter because I thought, this game's just bad. Like, Collingwood weren't much better, to be honest. And then I watched the last 5 minutes or 6 minutes or whatever when Sydney kicked like 4 or 5 goals to win it. And I just watched them and go, if they rock up next week like us at Marvel, I think we're a shot against that. Like, that is really bad. Like, their defenders looked horrible. Grundy looked ordinary, and I just thought, yeah, I mean,
well, good segue.
Hand on my heart, I actually thought they were bad, and I thought,
well, they haven't been great for a little while, but we do tend to play teams into form.
Yep. Yes.
If
true.
I was to summarize,
Gold Coast to win every game on the way home.
Yep.
Is that theory?
Yep. The key, you just sort of touched on a couple of the main points. So, Brody Grundy, very good ruckman, coming up against our new combo.
Yep.
I guess in Draper and Nick Bryan. So I'm quite excited to see that.
And it's great that they've been stuck with that again.
Mm-hmm. Two really big tests in a row for Nick Bryan in terms of Sean Darcy, Luke Jackson, and then Jared Witts last week. And he's walked away with his head very much held high, so it doesn't get any easier this week with Grundy, but that'll be interesting to see. Interesting to see how we manage it if they tweak the sort of the breakup between Draper and Bryan at all, if Draper might take a bit more.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know, but I mean, you wouldn't think with Perkins and Wiedemann. Wiedemann's obviously going to play as a defender, which he's been. We talked about him
Mm.
in as his VFL form's been
We're
pretty darn.
actually, we're actually prepared.
Yeah,
We've watched VFL.
look at
We're gonna
us,
have that opinion.
research. So that's a pretty clear spot there, and Perkins. I think Perkins is this interesting one because
He's
I
been
mean I
okay in the
didn't think.
VFL.
Yeah, I didn't think he was unreal in the last VFL game. I'm fascinated that Sardis is not getting a game.
Yeah.
That could be leading towards that Richmond conversation that were the rumours we've been hearing. So,
So
but
Hobbs
anyway,
held his spot. That was another takeaway that I didn't think of until then. And my apologies, I'm going to stop you right there because off the top, we need to talk about a few things.
Hmm.
Your tardiness, no. I'm kidding.
I'm always ill.
Dyson Heppel
Oh yes, good.
announced. Yeah, should have led with that probably.
We'll
If
give a
I'd
good hours.
done any prep work, I might have. I was doing actual work until 6 o'clock, so I just
I've just
haven't.
watched the video on the.
Yeah.
That's
Very sad.
my prep work.
We were, we were obviously advocates, I guess, of him retiring at season's end, but still acknowledge his contribution to the club over 14, 15 seasons
Yeah.
and captain of the football club at probably our most difficult
Horrible
time in our
yeah.
history. We never had a single thing against the man,
No.
but it is the right time for him to.
He seems like an
Pull
awesome bloke, like just an absolute like king of a bloke. I feel really sorry that he never saw success because he just seems like a bloke that
In the slightest, either
not even, I don't think he's ever won a final. That'd be a fair statement because he's never
no, he hasn't.
yeah never even won a final in the pool bus. And guys go through careers with that. I did listen to the video and they're asking, after your great career with all the success you've had, I'm going, it must be hard to answer that one. Like he has to sort of go to individual moments, like playing in the Anzac games, or his first game, captaining the club, things like that, which are great achievements. But as team success, nah, never happened.
Yeah, it's an interesting one because I think Essendon Football Club, he goes down as one of our heroes and legends, but for other reasons. It's not for any on-field
it's not for success.
or
No.
anything like that, but it is how he's conducted himself, like I said, at the most difficult point in our history.
Yeah.
150 years of history, and he was the captain at the worst possible time.
Yep.
Yeah, we have to acknowledge that. Sorry.
No, keep going.
So the other news was just come out recently is Kevin Sheedy is coming off the board at the end of the year.
Yep.
That is a great move in my humble opinion.
I hear you're very happy about that. I'm less opinionated about that.
I think he's been pulling too many strings for too long. Jai Caldwell, 4 years. Very excited about that.
Mm.
He's had a breakout season, if you can call it that.
And Saad?
Saad Al Hawley, 1 year extension.
Yep.
Again, deserved.
Yeah.
I thought he might have got a game this week too, but
Yeah.
one more game of VFL and then he might come in next week, I suppose, to have a scarp to get Brisbane and get flogged. And Jaden Hunter, I'm not really sure of the terminology here, whether we should be saying delisted or whether we're saying retired. The club hasn't really announced anything. He said he's leaving. I'm just not sure how to classify it. Anyway, Jaden Hunter.
I think he's got back.
He's
got
had
more
another
injury problems
surgery.
yet?
He's had another surgery on his back. So,
you
but I'm not
just assume the
sure.
poor kid's body's let him down.
Yeah, but I'm not sure if he's retired or if it's
Oh, yeah.
delisted. I'm not sure how to term it.
Well, the polite, I guess it's the
He
polite
won't be
way
on
is
the
that
list next
yeah,
year.
he won't be on the list next year, so that's fine. Doesn't really matter.
Before we get too far ahead, because there's a few comments there.
Yep.
Already.
That's good.
It is good. James says easy win for the Bombers this weekend. Not sure
Hey, go James.
if it's easy. Assassin says it'd be the most Essendon thing to do to go out and get pumped by 100 points. So obviously I'm tipping the Dons.
Yep.
Daniel thinks that Weeds deserves selection. I totally agree with
Agreed.
that. I think he's been good, sustained form in the VFL.
Yep.
Corey wants a bit of effort and a bit of mongrel in the contest, regardless of win or lose. Not a fan of the people we brought in. I wouldn't have minded seeing Hayes, but I can understand Wiedemann.
Wiedemann's just an older personally. I think honestly, I believe Wiedemann's been having good form in the VFL. I can understand some people's trepidation towards him playing because last time we saw him as a forward, I think the issue we had was the sort of he didn't have a lot of commitment. Like he was a bit of that sort of
confidence.
Lethargic sort of player, but he's a bit of a sort of cruises around, does his thing.
If I can make the point, I was talking to my friend about this, and he said Wiedemann's out of contract in 2 weeks. Lewis Hayes, because that was my point, I would have liked to have seen Hayes. Hayes is not.
So what's the point?
We might want to see Wiedemann in an AFL setting to make a decision on what happens next, whereas we know we've got Hayes next year. It's we don't know that, obviously, but it's an explanation for why that's happened that way. And I don't hate it. Like Wiedemann's earned his spot one way or another. You might have a preference to see Hayes, but I think it's all one and the same.
Yeah, that's a fair point. As I said, I think Wiedemann's form's been really good in the last few weeks. I've watched 2 or 3 of the last 3 or 4 games, and every time I watched, I thought, oh yeah, he's playing that role. He's that role well. That role well.
Right.
Yeah. So yeah, fair enough. And he's still only like a 25-ish.
He's young.
Yeah, top 10 draft. So there's skill in there, and maybe we've just been playing him in the wrong position. I've been talking now. I have been saying this for the last half of the year that we need to send a forward down back. So maybe this was
the wrong one. Well, he's been down back for quite a long time. So I don't know if you get to claim that one. Assassin turns out it's Phil, our mate Phil from Tassie Phil. You know Phil.
Oh, really?
So same bloke. Just a few more comments. Brad, ready for live greatness. Usually catch your vids after. Love your work, lads. Thanks, Brad.
Yeah.
Phil, anyone else had a cry about the death of this season? Oh, long ago. Probably St Kilda game. I had that.
Yeah, I think that's when the St Kilda one killed me.
And SJ2150 says, oh, wow, you have nice hair. And now you're wearing a hat, but you also have a beard. So I'm not sure.
That's you, Sam. That's not me.
Is it nice hair, though? I mean, thanks.
Well,
shiny because of the.
You're normally wearing your hat on back front. I'm not talking about me.
You do have nice hair.
Anyway,
Silver Fox certainly comes to mind.
Let's move on from this.
This is the fun of the live, Nathan. We can have these discussions. It's okay.
I do have wonderful hair, I must admit.
You do.
It's one of it's a very strong point.
That's about the only thing you get compliments on, right?
Well, no. My mother was a hairdresser, and she was always, you've got very good hair. She still is a hairdresser. Well, she's never retired.
Some people can't pull off the grey. I must say, you do.
Thank you, Sam.
Anyway, back to the football.
I think from Bruce there too. Farewell game.
Farewell game. Yeah, sorry, apologies, Brucey.
Remember we had this conversation a few years ago. Now it was about
Tom Bellchambers.
Tom Bellchambers,
yes.
And they played Draper in the last game that was against I think Gawn or something like that, wasn't it?
Yep. And we made the point that I would much rather Draper get the the spot. Now I would ask you, Bruce. I don't know if you're for or against the Heppel farewell game. But would you be comfortable with that coming at the expense of Archie Roberts, for example?
Good point.
I would not.
I agree.
The most important thing here is just because he's not playing doesn't mean we can't celebrate him. So he's going to have his moment before the game where he'll get the love of the crowd, the support, the claps, the cheers.
He'll obviously be in a nice car.
And we'll be able to say, thanks, Dyson, all the best. And he still gets that moment regardless of whether he's playing. And I think the farewell games are nice.
Yep.
But I would be uncomfortable with that coming at the expense of an Archie.
And the team might even do the right thing by him for once and win.
Well, is it a milestone game? Because we don't win milestone games.
No, but the last emotional game I remember was the our 200-year game.
Oh, the 150th against Carlton.
Yeah.
I'm thinking Hurley.
Was that against Carlton?
Yes, it was against Carlton.
And they had all and Heppel's made. He looked like he gave a good speech, pulling the jumper.
Yeah. That was against Carlton. Yep, I remember that distinctly.
Yep. Trust you.
I remember the Hurley farewell game against Richmond where it was about 80-point loss, and he kicked a goal, and all the Richmond supporters, all the Richmond players congratulated him, and it was just bizarre. But
that's how bad we were there.
That's how bad we were.
Because they were like, "Oh, good on you, mate."
It was like you're playing against Auskick kids. Oh, well done, mate. Well done. You did well. I miss Hills.
Yep, that's where we're at.
Yep. Do love Hills. And Phil's also very glad to see the beard back, which I totally agree.
Yep. Could you imagine Heppel like taking a role at the club next year, or maybe as a year off, but the year after that, like a runner role, or like a VFL leadership sort of role, something like that.
Maybe I can certainly see him in footy. I'm a bit of an advocate of moving away from Essendon people in the club where possible. Obviously, if it's the best man for the job, but I wouldn't default to Heps just because he's played for us for 15 years. And
No, but he might want to take a year away from footy. Like that might be his first.
Yeah, for
thing.
sure. And he might replace Travis Cloak as a runner.
Yeah, that's right. And then
I don't know about you, but I love Trav running for us.
But Trav does look like he struggles out there on the grass.
Yeah, but
he's a big unit.
He's a big unit. He's amongst it.
He does. He nearly got in a blue in mid-round, didn't he?
I wouldn't mind him putting on the jumper, to be honest. Just chucking it full forward.
Yeah,
I did see, with all of Carlton's injuries this week,
that
Favola put on Twitter, I can play, I'm available, I just won't leave the goal square. And I thought, if that was at the MCG, they're playing in Perth, obviously, but if that was at the G, I would go. I'd go and watch Fev run around for Carlton again.
Yep.
He was still kicking bags up in the Ovens and Murray.
On that, did we mention too during the week that was confirmed that we should get Keiko?
Yes.
Or Kako?
We're not 100% sure how to say it just yet, but
it's K-A-K-O. Anyone want to have a...
Kako or Keiko, that's the two options.
Yeah, I'm not sure.
My brain says Kako because Kaka, the soccer player, but it doesn't sound quite right. Yeah. What's his first name? Maybe we go with that.
I think I would like football player's first name.
It's assumed that we will get him, right?
Well, he's our NGA. NGA. So we'd be still pretty. He's a small forward. It'd be pretty stupid to not go for him now.
Exactly what we need. It's interesting. I heard I was on TikTok before, just scrolling.
The Talks of Tick.
Yep. Your favourite app. And I heard Gary Lyon talking about it, and I didn't actually know this at the time. Mac Andrew was a Melbourne NGA player. And all of their modelling and all of their computer system things were like, you need this player, and they didn't get him. And if it was this year, they would get him.
Yeah, they got
quite rough.
So it changed after Jamara Ugle-Hagan, I think 2020 or whatever, he was picked by Brisbane. The Footscray. So they got to basically get a first-round pick with their NGA, which the AFL went, hang on, that seems a bit wrong. So they changed it to you couldn't bid inside the 20. And then a couple of years later, you couldn't bid inside the 40. And now they've just gone back to, no, you can bid whatever you want. So that's why we're back in.
Do you know why they've done that now, though? Because clubs were basically developing these players and then not getting them. So they kind of went, well, fuck this, I'm not going to do it.
Yeah, I'm not developing yet.
So that's why they've had to renege. But yeah, Melbourne have missed out on Mac Andrew.
I think the number of Indigenous and,
Well, that's what the NGA Academy is.
That's right. And Sudanese, obviously,
players
kids and all
that don't have the normal traditional avenues.
Yeah, that's right. And that's what the AFL wants. And I think that's a good thing for the football.
Yeah, absolutely. But I'd be pretty filthy as a Melbourne supporter because...
I do get you. Because he's a good... Let's not talk about last week.
Quite handy. I know people will complain Vic bias and all that, but it is rough when you just look at the scenario that they were in 2 years earlier, 2 years after, they would have ended up with the player.
And he's the guy they need because they don't have that big, tall key forward. Well, they've got
he can do everything. He's literally played every position this year. He's been a key back, a ruckman, and a key forward.
Yeah, he probably could play on a wing at Essendon.
Oh, probably. I do have a lot of time for the man, despite what happened last weekend.
Yeah, I agree. So Bruce agrees with us.
Who?
Bruce.
So yes. Prefer Roberts. Yep.
Yeah.
And Hyperbaric also said would prefer.
Yep.
No farewell game. I think it makes sense. I think, as long as he gets his time and we get the opportunity to say thanks, Dice, which we will. So that's okay.
That's exactly right. Yeah. And that's just footy sometimes. Like the fact that he finishes without a finals win. Some guys like Crawford get to finish winning a grand final. Like,
well, even like Hodge won 4 premierships at Brisbane and finished his career at a different club.
You mean at Hawthorn, you mean, and then went to Brisbane?
Yeah, sorry. Won 4 flags at Hawthorn and then finished his whole career at a different club.
Yeah, well, he retired. He quit there and they dragged him out.
You don't always get that opportunity. Anyway,
and there might even be a club that drags Dyson out. Like they might, the Gold Coast Suns might say, "Well, do you want to come play for a year?" And he needs
the dreadlocks back.
Yeah, that's true. He'd love it up there, the surf.
Can I just say, he I'll put it politely, he wasn't as good post dreadlocks.
Ooh, yeah, I agree with that.
And it's a common theme. Dale Thomas went to shit post dreadlocks.
Mason Redman,
Red Dog. Well, he didn't have dreadlocks.
He had the hair.
Top knot.
And without the hair, it's shit. He has been.
Yeah. Anyway, don't cut your dreadlocks off. And Kako has dreads, so never. Cut them
Don't
off.
do anything for cancer. That's the motto. That's not the motto?
That's probably not what we're trying to say.
Okay, right. Gotcha. Got it wrong.
Thankfully, we're not popular enough for that to get sound clipped.
I think we all got the joke.
Yes, we did. But scare me when you say things like that.
Oh, no.
Dustin Fletcher didn't get a farewell game.
Don't like anything. It's controversial.
Dustin Fletcher didn't get a farewell game, Phil. But yeah, he was injured though. I think was the main thing there. He played 400 and he was cooked.
Yeah, I mean he got 400 games.
We were literally carrying him to 400.
Yep.
A bit like Elwyn Davey in his 100. Just
There's
get to 100
like
and then piss him
Dean
off.
Solomon. Not Dean Solomon. Dean
Rioli?
Dean Rioli. Yeah, he got carried to 100. Basically, Sheedy just pushed him out there for.
Be good now because you could just bung him on as a sub and they get the.
Oh, he would have made a great sub actually.
Yeah, but you get the game.
Oh, true, but he would have made a good sub because he's the guy who could have come and impacted for 10 minutes, 15 minutes, crashed through some bodies, kicked a goal, boom.
Right, back to the Swans game. I nearly called it the Snuzz. That was last week. What do we do? So, Goulden, I'm worried about, but less so compared to Isaac Heaney.
Well, I don't think we're going to tag, if that's what you're asking. I mean, I think we just go one-on-one with our...
Or who gets that role then?
Well, Caddy will probably go to... Caldwell will probably go to one of their... Who they think... And that might be Goulden, I imagine.
Would you... Sorry, I'm kind of
I wouldn't go near Heaney because Heaney sneaks forward a bit and that's... Then you're drawing a defender up there. I'll just let Heaney do Heaney things.
So... Well, that was going to be my question. It was leading questions. Someone's rightfully pointed out Perkins with the haircut thing.
I wouldn't mind seeing Perkins as a tagging role, but I think he's a bit lazy.
No, I just mean the hair. Cut his hair and then stop being as good.
Yeah, good point. But never cut your hair. Well,
within reason, yeah. Although you can't stand the hair in the player's eyes, so I don't know what you're on about.
Well, if they wear a ponytail, I'm okay.
Okay. So, my point was going to be Durham. I feel like that's an okay matchup for Heaney. I see your point about the forward, and I don't think that Durham would cope well with that. But
no.
I think in the midfield that could work. Heaney's class. I wouldn't expect an awful lot, but I think watching what Durham did against Bontempelli earlier in the season, I'm still very much buoyed by that game.
But as I said, I think that with Heaney, he's a much more of a forward. He has been in the last few weeks. With Corey Warner out, that might change a bit. He might play more midfield time. Because Callum Mills has come back in the last few weeks too, so he's been playing well. So
you've watched Sydney last week.
Yep.
Heaney
was more.
Sorry, but when you say they were shit or they were bad or they were struggling, or why? What gave you that impression?
They fumbled the ball. Ridiculous, like their movement through the midfield. They'd go to handball it through the midfield, trying to run and carry it through the midfield, and they'd handball it often to guys standing still, or often to guys with a Collingwood person right next to them. And you go, "What the what was that?"
So
they think their defenders dropped marks like just shocking, and some of the defenders' kicks were like, "Oh my god, what the hell is that?" It's just turning the ball over.
What I'm hearing right now is we're as good as Sydney.
Yeah,
because you've pretty much just described two very major issues with Essendon.
It's going to be a battle of the crappers.
Shit. Bruce, Swans start badly in first quarters. That's normally when you start. They have had poor first quarters this year, and even when they were playing well, they had poor first quarters. So
yeah,
and they usually made it up in the second.
And there might be a chance for us to jump them. And if we can get a little bit of confidence about...
Be honest, if we're 45 points up at three-quarter time, are you comfortable?
Yes.
Okay. Are we...
They're not that Collingwood. They're not that team.
They were 27 points down against Collingwood late in the...
Yeah, but
not late, in the fourth quarter, sorry.
Yeah, I don't think Collingwood were very good last week either.
Yeah, but this is Essendon we're talking about.
Yeah.
We could
But
quite
we
literally...
did kick 1 goal 9 last week. If we kicked 9 goals,
I
1.
know. Adelaide kicked 9 goals in a quarter. Like, I have no faith.
I'm not saying this has happened. I'm not going to say this is going to happen. This is just my interpretation of
and
what
I'm
yeah.
giving you
You're
mine.
questioning
this
it.
is,
And
this is Pendlebury. Pendlebury conversation from last week.
Yeah.
Which was very cute. I might just share with the listeners, if that's okay.
They were there.
Now. Well, yeah, but after the fact. So I got a message from Nathan the next day.
I don't know if we need to do this.
Are you annoyed at me? Because we had our first disagreement and he thought I was annoyed because he had a different opinion to me.
No, it was because he hung up after the chat. He goes, I've got to go. I've got some things to do. And I knew that's a lie. He lives by himself. He does nothing. Trust me, people. He plays games. He's just a
father, my child.
Yeah, but pretty sure she would have been asleep.
Yeah.
She is like 6.
Yeah, she's in bed now. Yeah, not even that.
5?
4.
Oh, she's not up at 9:30.
She's in bed. No, I think I had to just I had to go to the bathroom.
Oh, I had to do the poo-poos, that's right.
I think that was more the issue, but yeah, it was cute anyway.
All right, read some things.
Hyperbaric, Swans only played 1 quarter last week. It was enough, and usually 1 quarter of football is enough to beat us. So we find new ways to lose. Yes, we do. Our mate Herbertron posted his video this week, and when you isolate some of these moments, I think this is what this does really well. When you isolate some of these moments, I just look at it and go, we are so bad. But you could do that with any team. I'm aware. I'm not saying we're a lot different.
But I reckon if you played the Herbertron videos from one to the other from the year, you would start to go, seems to be some players are pretty consistent.
Well, he interestingly actually used one of the clips of Menzies just running over the ball, like easiest pickup you've ever seen. And
that was the one I was thinking of too.
I just went, that was one of our points on Menzies last week, was bro's just not clean enough. And then we dropped Davey. I can't.
Yeah, I don't get that. The other one for me that stood out was, I don't know, he's a bit of a bugbear of ours, was Laverde. And the commentators were something like, he squeezed himself under the ball there. Like, there was no one around him.
No one near him.
Yep, and he went too far under the ball and missed the mark. I'm like, God, that looks horrible. When you watch that back in that Herbertron video, that little bit, you go, oh, that looks shit. Like, he just fucked that up.
What I'm really curious on... I'm not curious. What I think about a little bit is when a team goes from being complete shitters to good. And I'll use Richmond as an example.
Yeah.
Because they were a basket case, like 2011 to
16,
2012.
17,
They were a complete basket case. I think 2015 or 14, they lost to Carlton in an elimination final when Carlton didn't even finish in the 8.
Yep.
Carlton went in because we went out.
Yep.
And then they missed finals in 2016, won the flag in 2017. So at what point did they go from...
What made it click?
An absolute joke of a football club where we are now, and even right now Carlton are there still as well, to, oh shit, this team's actually good. I reckon it took them to winning their first final, because they beat Geelong, I reckon, in a qualifying final. And I reckon that's sort of when everyone went, oh, okay, they're actually good. Yep.
And then they were very, very good for the next 3 years.
So
even though they lost they didn't make a grand final in one of those years, they still were the best team. That was the year they were probably the best.
2018 was their best season. They just lost to Mason Cox.
Yeah, that's right. Mason Cox had a bit of a blinder.
Football.
Yeah, that's right. And got Collingwood into a grand final. Otherwise, they would have won 4, really.
Yeah. I'm sort of waiting for that moment, and the narrative around us will always be the same until we win a final. I'm prepared for that emotionally and physically.
What? I'm just reading 3 nuts. 3 nuts.
Who was the nut job that offered Cox and Menzies new contracts about 5 weeks ago? Is that the one?
No. Well, can anyone explain to me what has Brad Scott done for Essendon?
Can I answer that first, or do you have an answer?
No, I don't know if I have an answer. Go.
Coaches will be judged at the end of their career. I think it's... He hasn't been so bad this year that anyone's contemplating sacking him. And again, I'll remind you that Truck was sacked after 2 seasons, so he's at the same point now.
Yep.
I think we're in a much better position as a football club. We've just got possibly some personnel, which I'll note that Brad Scott inherited. They were on the list when he
He
joined.
brought some in
I'm getting to that. So there'll be question marks on the players he's brought in.
Yep.
I think he's probably got 3 out of 4. At this point in time, I'll say he's got 3 out of 4 right.
Yep.
In that Goldstein had a purpose, Mackay was absolutely required, and Dersma, I think, will be a very good player for us.
Well, Dersma was a good swap.
A long time, and it was a good trade. I'm not sure about Gresham. I really don't know.
Same. Yep.
I'm not going to say it was a bad pickup, but I'll put a question mark on it for the time being.
The issue I have with that is that he started poorly, so I don't imagine he's going to get better because every player in the last 6 or 7 years we've got from another club usually has their best year first year when they get to us and then goes
to shit. Yeah. Well, he was quite good early. Like round 5 or 6, he was top, like the most improved player according to Champion Data. I think for Brad Scott, ask me in 12 months.
Yeah, fair question.
If we're still having these absolute horrible moments, horror shows in 12 months, I might be a bit more critical. But I think it's unfair to judge him too harshly now. But I'm still quite happy with what we did 2 years ago. We got rid of Truck. We followed a process. We recruited a coach. We didn't recruit a former Essendon person. I'm content with things at the moment. We don't agree with a lot of stuff that he does or that the coaches do, but we're nuffs. We don't know. We just have opinions.
That's right. And do you want to then go to the next question from Three Nuts about Cox and Menzies?
Cox is being unfairly criticised, in my humble opinion. And we need to talk about that. And Kane Corns. I know Kane Corns says these things to get a rise out of people. I'm fully aware of that, but this is just dangerous. Yep. We should not be criticising guys for coming off when they're concussed.
100%. I think concussion is one of those things we don't question. If you had a moment a few weeks ago with Carlton where they left Mackay on and he was clearly concussed, and then they pulled him out Wednesday or Thursday out of the team, so they got a few pleasing loans from the AFL. Yeah,
there were a few teams that week. I just think if he's come off and failed a concussion test, and your strength as a player does not affect your brain's ability to not move in your skull.
No, that's right.
It's so stupid, and it's just a dangerous thing to have in the media.
And we don't want to do to players what we've seen happen to some, where they're
have to retire or they have lifelong issues. I agree.
So if we take that out of the equation, take the concussion.
Well, I was going to say, I agree that it was a weird concussion. I can see that, but just leave it alone. He was concussed.
But let's take the concussion out of the equation. That was
sorry.
His form and the way he's playing.
Cox is harsh. I think you got to persist. He's one of those guys that will take a little bit longer. I'm fully prepared to give him another 3 or 4 years. Honestly, I don't care. He's got something that not a lot of players have, and we have to figure out how to use that. Menzies only got 1 year, which says to me you're close to being delisted but not quite there, and I would suggest the reason why is because we don't have a lot of smalls. Maybe next year when we get Kako and we've got Davey Jr. as a backup and maybe Jaden Davey getting closer, that's when you look at Menzies and go, well, we've got depth now, we've got players. See you later.
He probably won't play. The thing about Cox I find interesting, and this is a bit of devil's advocate, is if they've been playing him as a defender the last couple of weeks after Ridley went down, I would have probably preferred either Hayes come in that role or Cox go back and play that role in the VFL, because I think the issue I have is that I don't think Cox knows how to play that role very well. And I think that therefore causes criticism on him because he looks a bit shit at it because he's probably never played as a defender. As a junior, I don't think he would have played as a defender. And, so I would like them to say, well, we've got an experience in Wellman who's coming in this week.
Wiedemann.
Not Wellman, sorry. Wiedemann. Wellman played for us a long time ago. Wiedemann. And, or we had Hayes, who's, been doing that really well as a young player. So I would have liked that, to be honest. Yeah,
you've got a valid point there that, a lot of teams put players back in the VFL to learn a new role. I think it's symptomatic of the fact we just have no idea what we want to do with Cox, and that's why I'm a bit more sympathetic towards him.
I agree with that. But I don't think they know what they're doing, so they just throw him around, and then he plays bad games, and then we criticise him.
If he was delisted, for example, you would find out how valuable he is, because there would be more than... a handful of clubs after him, I'm sure. Dennis, but losing Massimo hurts. We had a chat about Massimo today, and I think the point I would like to make there is I'm not worried the fact we lost him because he was a bit player. He was in and out of the side. Hindsight's a wonderful thing. I think the issue for me is that we failed to spot a talent. We failed to see what he was capable of in a different role. That's probably more concerning to me than losing the player.
I agree. Look, I think that from what my understanding was that he wanted 2, we're only offering 1. And this goes back to that Heppel situation, well, not Heppel situation, but this goes to that, those sort of things is that, because I look back at Massimo when he did play and I thought he's got a lot of good attributes. He's a good kick. He's got good pace. He's pretty hard over the ball. He's got some, good strengths.
Could play forward or back.
Yeah, looked a bit raw.
Yeah.
Now the 2-year to 1-year deal, that sucks because, maybe we should offer him 2 in hindsight. But I agree that we didn't see the talent that was there, that when he's now been given the opportunity, and we wouldn't have played him on a wing this year. No, but if he'd played as a half back all year and say Tyson hadn't played as a half back at all, then I think we would have seen this great development in him.
And this is what's interesting to me. We're very quick to judge Menzies getting 1 year. But we're also happy to jump on Massimo leaving, and you go, well, where are we on that spectrum? Because we're not happy that we kept a guy. We're unhappy that we got rid of a guy. So in a lot of ways, the club just cannot win. And
no, you're right.
At the time, I stress that.
We just keep getting it wrong there.
Massimo was about the same, if not a little bit better than Menzies. Like, he hadn't done anything.
Definitely, Menzies' first year and Massimo's first year, we'd say they were similar.
On par. Now, Mass will be an All-Australian or possibly All-Australian.
Possibly, definitely make the 40.
We could talk about it forever and a day, but you can't. You can't dwell
Menzies
on it.
might turn around and play a brilliant year next year, and we'll go, well, we got that wrong too. But
all I can say is Mass did what was right for him. Hawthorn took a chance, and they are both being rewarded.
They did very well, Hawthorn. They made some really good choices this year, which I think were better than our choices, which hurts.
Yes,
That's the hurt. But their ruckman's been really good. Maybe our Charles been a good pickup for them. The one for me, and then we've talked about this a few times, is Ginnivan.
Yes.
I just can't fathom how we didn't. I know maybe he didn't want to come to us. That's, I'm sure, a factor.
Can I remind you, he was a Hawthorn supporter as a kid who idolised Sam Mitchell. So,
well, fair enough. But what can we? I don't know. I look at him and last year and the year before, that's the guy we've been missing.
Yeah, it is. I 100% agree.
Cheeky little small forward.
But
hopefully, Kako can be that guy.
Kako, yeah.
Kako, sorry.
And then Harley Reid in a couple of years' time, we'll roll him through the mid forward and we'll be laughing.
Have that conversation.
Yeah. Anyway, we did this last week where we just totally divulged into postseason. But this is the point of the live. Get in and chat with us. It takes us off the usual. It's interesting for us to sit here and have a chat with everyone. And
if we were fourth, we'd be talking about, if we beat them and then beat them, we could be, we're playing in the finals. But the reality is that's not happening. Like, if we beat Sydney, and obviously that's just a big if, then that's just what I will say and what I hope is that we're competitive against Sydney. Maybe we lose by a kick or win by a kick, whatever, something around that mark, kick or two. Do whatever we do happens against Brisbane. And I will say, yes, we've been better because we didn't have that massive capitulation at the end of the year like we have the last 2 or 3 years. And we had a couple of bad games. You go, well, that happens. But
that's what I'm worried about.
Hindsight, you'll look back and go, Now, if we get flogged by Sydney this week, flogged by Brisbane last week, then we'll go, well, we're back in the same. Yeah.
I'm worried about the Brisbane game for that very reason, I think.
I'm less worried about the Brisbane game. If they flog us, they're good. They should be top of the ladder, really.
Yeah, I know, but anyway.
Whereas Sydney's form in the last 6 weeks,
bottom 4.
They've won 2, and the one was against
North
Collingwood last week, and the other one, by 2 points or what it was, and the other one was against North,
who they smashed. To be fair, but.
Yeah, but their form in the last 6 weeks is like it was 2 weeks ago they flogged by 100 points. And their comeback game, now don't forget this, that we talked about this, that if they lose the week after that 100-point flogging, they're gone.
It's a backbone.
They only just got over Collingwood. Like, it's great.
But
it's over. And a free kick they had gone the other way would have taken it away from him.
Yeah. It's all swings and roundabouts. They were, I mean, this is a long time ago. They were down and out in a semi-final against Geelong in 2005. Absolutely come home in the most unreal finish and won the grand final. Like, fortunes can change very quickly, and they have a good list, right? We're not going to argue that. So why it's gone wrong for them so dramatically, I don't know. I'm so grateful it's not us in that position, because can you imagine the headlines? But there's class in that side, and a huge amount of class. And we play teams into form. Sydney will be sitting there going, you beauty. We're on here. If they win the flag, I guarantee you we will be the reason why.
Can I read another one from DV8R Assassin?
That's Phil.
Oh, yes. Phil. Punxsutawney Phil. Sorry.
Yes,
I feel like Scott has somewhat united the club. I agree with that. We seem to be functioning a lot better. I think in the last 2 years, there's been no, like the board that, the shady things popped up today, but there hasn't been this, the board's crumbling, the club, the club's in turmoil. We haven't been in the media. That's nice. We've been in the media for bad football. That's okay.
Yeah. You're right. We
That's
haven't had those off-field issues, and it's interesting to me in Dyson Hepfel's little farewell speech to the players that he said, I'm bloody proud of where I'm leaving this football club, or the position this football club's in. So I know, of course, he's going to say that, but
he's not going to say,
he could not say it. He could just say, I've really enjoyed my time here. Thanks, boys. See you later.
Yeah.
There was another one there I wanted to talk about, another comment. Corey, should we change our line coaches and bring in some coaches that have a hard edge and want to push the group away from being stuck in mediocrity? To finals contention, two things. Coaches with a hard edge, to me, do nothing, because Ben Rutten was a defender and couldn't teach us how to defend. So
I don't think he means that sort of hard. I mean,
I know, but I mean,
nasty.
Just because the coach has that skill doesn't mean that you can pass that on to the players necessarily. And two, there is a rumour that we are getting Justin Lepich from Collingwood.
Oh, that'd be nice.
And success kind of follows that man wherever he goes when he's not a senior coach.
Okay, that's good to know. Good. Well, I think it's a great question. I think it's something that should be reviewed. I think that we've been a bit frustrated with the forwards and defenders and the way they play, like the bombing on the head. Like, we look at that and go, why are they still doing that?
That's been a thing for three coaches.
Yeah, but that's because I would argue I don't think our three sub-coaches have changed a lot in the last few. Like Gene Syracuse's
GR Carousella, who looked the same, by the way. I really struggled to tell them apart.
And there's another one I reckon that's hung around for a while. It
was the guy who was unwell this year. Do you mean?
Yeah. Anyway, I feel like there's been the same sort of. There was one that came from Brisbane, and they talked about, like, I couldn't remember his name, and he was like the best forward coach or defensive coach. I can't remember what he was now. And they talked him up, and since he's got out, I don't think he's made much of a difference. So I don't mind that. Tapping, that's it, yes.
Is the forward line coach. Ben Jacobs is the defence coach. Brent Stanton is the midfield coach.
Yep, Stanton, I'd look at him too. Can we get James Hurd in as a mid?
Carousella's. Hales is a development coach. I knew that.
Oh, that's great. He can develop the shit out.
Cloak. See, don't worry about it. Yep.
No go.
I was just going to say, Hurls, I love the man and I love what I adore the man, but why is he a coach? Does he actually have credentials, or is it just because it's Michael Hurley? That's the question.
No, well, Stan went to another club before he came back to us.
Did he?
Yeah, Hurley. Yep, Hurley, maybe even another one. Hurley, I think I wouldn't, like, he played as a defender. A lot of defenders turn into very, very good coaches.
Except
he's still a senior coach, like, at an AFL club. Like, he's an assistant senior coach. Like, so he's not I don't think he's a bad coach. I just don't think he was right for us at the time. Like, he was assistant coach at Richmond when they won a premiership. So I can't say he's a bad coach.
Now he's back at Richmond and they're going to win the Wooden Spoon. So.
Yeah, well, that's a list issue more than a player issue.
I don't think we have the qualifications to talk about the assistant coaches, to be honest. I don't know if we know enough about them and their qualifications. We barely know enough about the senior coach to do that. Three nuts again. Far too early to jump on the caddy bandwagon.
Oh no, sorry.
I wholeheartedly disagree. That man.
Three nuts, you've lost me there. We can have some conversations about your other points. Now you've gone.
I see your point. I do see your point with Gumby, Courtney Johns, and Nick
Put
Cox
one of the nuts away.
But
you only need two nuts.
We need something to get excited about, and honestly, Cads is that man. I will hang my hat on the whole season, and I'll use him.
And I will argue that Gumbledon was a very, very good quality football player, but injuries ruined him.
Yeah, but that's what he's suggesting, that all that can change just because they have
Nick
potential.
Cox is not injured.
I don't know why that. He's the odd one out.
Courtney Johns was unreal too. I love it. There's a dreadlock man. He didn't cut him off
though. No.
Yeah. Probably still kicking bags of goals somewhere in some country league.
Franciscus has actually given a proper score prediction: 13-10-88 to Sydney 12-9-81.
Shield 25
and 2. Sounds like the Gridley who were doing today.
Shield future. Shield.
Again, if he has a deal where he can play every week, go nuts. If not, I'm happy to hold on to him. I'm indifferent there. I like him now. I really do. So
he looks like he's a very good mate in the bit of video I watched of Dyson Heppel. Like they were.
But last week he was clean when a lot of others weren't, and I think he's found his spot in the team, not in the sense of in the playing 22, but his role in the side,
rotations and stuff,
and what he's actually doing within that midfield setup. So I am quite happy for him to stick around. If you'd asked me that 12 months ago,
do they just offer him a 1-year contract?
Yeah, I think he's 32, so I think one's sensible. I'm okay with that.
Yeah, I don't know.
He doesn't have to play every week. I'm just saying, I think he has value to the side now.
And I know we're talking futures again because that's whether we are in the year. Like Sardis and Hobbs, we've talked about. Hobbs has to play more of a midfield role, I think, to be better for the club.
Mm-hmm.
Sardis is a fascinating one. I'd be really disappointed if we're halfway through next year. If he's not at another club at the end of this year, but if he's still at our club and he's playing VFL next year, something's wrong.
It's funny because 5 years ago we had no depth in their midfield. Now we have a lot of midfielders. Not necessarily depth, but they're just kids. But there's a lot of players to fit into a midfield six.
Because of Caldwell and Durham this year.
Which is a great thing.
Yeah, you throw Parrish and Merritt in with that. With those four, just those four, and then you throw Sheila in there at the moment. Those 4 or 5 are really good, strong,
I think
midfielders.
It's difficult for me to wrap my head around this because I don't know. If I put myself in the position of Elijah Sardis, I'm not playing. Richmond come and knock on my door and say, look, we think you'll play every week and we can give you a 2-year, 3-year deal and you'll be playing in the team, whatever.
Yeah.
That's pretty enticing. But I think as a player, you also have to realise my time will come. I will get an opportunity to play. So I don't know how they draw that line. I look at a club like Geelong, who does not generally debut players.
No. Sydney.
Yeah, they don't normally debut players at 18, 19, 20-year-old. They normally come in later. And usually they're very good when they come in.
Yeah, you're right.
So I would be disappointed, but I can see why, with the promise of playing games of AFL football and a long-term deal, why you might look to jump. I don't know about Hobbs as a player. I like what I've seen so far.
You worry about his kicking.
I worry about the lack of a left foot. But neither of them have been on the list long enough to make a real educated sort of call about whether they're good, bad, otherwise. We just don't know yet. So, Phil said that Sardis was a bad pick. Philippou would have been more suited. Anyone who had that pick would have taken Sardis. That is not an Essendon issue.
No.
At
I
the
don't
time,
know if Philippou's been that good either, to be honest.
No, but the player he is, the size, the bulk, I think, is what we would be.
Yeah,
but you're not going to take a pick 10 at pick 4. That's a big difference in player.
Pick 5, but yeah.
Pick 5.
But Philippou didn't go to 10 or 11 or something like that.
Yeah, and that's too big a jump.
Yeah, I agree. That would then, if Philippou doesn't work out, you look like idiots.
Correct. That's right. You just got to take the best available. Yeah. And Sardis was that. Everyone had him after Wardlaw and Sheasel.
We still don't know what Sardis can do. I mean, he's racking up 34 because he's an inside midfielder, and we've been trying to play him as an outside midfielder. He's a 34 possession machine, and he's doing it very well in the VFL. Now, if we look at Nick Bryant as the example there. He battled away in that for 2 years, racking up massive numbers. And in the last 2 weeks, and I'm hoping, the future now becomes a permanent figure. Maybe Sardis just needs to bulk up a little bit because he's pretty skinny for, an inside mid and just work on that.
Yeah,
But you're right. Richmond could offer him a mint And he could go there too.
It's not even a money thing, I don't think. I think it's if they have the position for him to play in every week, which they will.
But I think football players have to make financial decisions.
Well, yeah, but he's going to...
You've got a short career in this game.
He's not going to get a whole lot more money at Richmond than Essendon, I wouldn't have thought.
Yeah, I don't know that. That's a great...
But maybe he signs...
What Essendon offer him next year? So he hasn't signed with us. That's true. Nope. So Ben McKay got like 750, didn't he? Eight, okay.
On average.
So let's look at that as an example. So how much would you pay Sardis as an Essendon manager next year?
I have no idea. I'm not qualified to even guess, to be honest. I struggle when they're not key positions because key positions are worth more.
Yep, fair enough.
And he's 2 years in.
So
Richmond,
what do we assume he got for the 2? Yeah.
Richmond would have to pay more to get him.
Yep,
I think if you say, I want you, he's worth more because they want him.
They might offer him like 6 or 7 or something.
So he's worth more at Richmond than he is at Essendon. But
of course.
I think that the selling point at Richmond is going to be, we have a spot for you to play every week.
Yep.
In a developing midfield. Dusty's gone. Human Meatball. Prestia is injured every other week.
Yep. So he's got that inside mid role to be
Cochin's been gone for 12 months.
Yeah, someone like Graham and that. There's talk of a few of their players going back to Perth. Yeah.
Bolton.
Yeah,
Baker. So he can walk into a midfield basically with Taranto and
Hopper, isn't it?
Hopper, yeah, you're right.
Yeah,
Hopper.
yep.
And spend the next 5 years playing with them.
Pick.
Like, I can see the enticement there for sure, but I would like to keep our player and just try and get this guy who was a pick 5, but pick 5s don't always work out, a la Aaron Francis.
Who's on the emergency for Sydney this week.
Yeah. If he's out of contract, I would
Phil, Punxsutawney Phil, has asked about how do we get one of the true power forwards to the club? Well, Phil, his name is Job Shanahan,
and we will
be chasing hard at around early pick 20. I want you to remember that. Job Shanahan. Well, we can all remember the first name, Job.
The 2 Jobs who've ever played AFL football. Hopefully we get them at the Essendon Football Club.
That would be awesome, actually. That stat's worth it.
I'm going to start to wrap.
Joe McGrath forward.
Don't hate it. I really don't hate it.
Can't fuck it up anymore.
Can't get worse.
Yep.
Corey, what would your ideal setup for the forward line? I'd like to see Langford at half forward. I think I don't get too set on positions within the front 6. I think you sort of say, well, I like Caddy roaming up the ground, but I also like Caddy in the forward line. So if cloning Caddy was an option, that's what I would do. But I've liked the use of Langford as the throwback to defence. He seems a lot more comfortable when he's down there.
Well, that's because he's been so atrocious up forward. Let's quickly discuss Langford. His form in the last 6 weeks has probably been the worst, close to Perkins, the worst player in our team. So I wouldn't be talking about him as a half forward at the moment.
So you want him to stay home forward with Caddy? I think
I'd be struggling to pick him, mate.
Yeah, well, fair enough. The issue I have with any of our forwards playing higher up the ground is that's quite literally why Jones is sort of there. Like, he's a little bit doing that role.
Well, yeah.
And Caddy has been as well. So Caddy's been the one pushing up the wing and taking the pack marks or at least flying. Man will take mark of the year one day.
And to be honest, Draper's done that last
Draper's done it too, yeah, you're right.
Yeah, not in a horrible way. He's getting up the ground and marking the ball. Compared to Peter Wright for the 4 weeks, he couldn't do that.
Yeah. It's something that we need to look at for the next 2 weeks, and then I guess discuss at length when we do our full post-season wrap. But
again, to go into the forward thoughts, there's a couple of tall and key defenders floating around picks 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 in the draft this year. One's like a 196 forward, one's like a 195 defender. I would be seriously, and one of them, the defender one, he kicked the winning goal for the under-18s, the Vic Metro, I think, or something like that.
Sure.
So they pushed him forward in the last quarter, and he snuck up there and kicked the winning goal. So, hello, swingman.
Hello, swingman.
Hello, swingman.
Kale Hooker 2.0.
Yeah, so, I mean, we could, look, I would rather, and I said this to you today, I would rather we not make any trades, trade out players for picks, because we're going to need some points for Kako, so let's make sure we bank that, right?
Well,
then chase a couple of talls.
It's a good point
we're not talking about smalls. We're covered there.
Yeah, it's a good point you make, because we've got the potential to have quite a handy draft hand, a good draft hand, where we should get our first pick. So let's just say 7 or 8 and be done with it. It'll be around there.
Whatever. Yep.
Which we'll get. Kako shouldn't go before that, so we're not going to have to use points picks before that point. So we'll get that pick. Presumably we'll get Kako, and then if we can...
2 in the first sort of 15 somewhere.
Yeah. And then if we can manage it, we should actually still be able to get Jobe Shanahan in that 20 to 25 range.
If all goes well. Yep.
If all goes well. But we're probably going to have to trade to get either another second round or a third round pick, which we spoke about Matt Guelphy.
Yeah, well,
he's probably that player that can get us a third round pick.
He's unsigned. He's a West Australian kid. Like, it's funny, we've got a lot of Victorians on our list. If there's, I don't know, like where we get an extra third or fourth round, and maybe it comes from Sardis leaving to Richmond, that we get a second round pick from that.
You did some research on that today. That's what they usually go for in that kind of scenario.
It's not a ridiculous thought that we'll get us, if he was to leave, that Richmond would have to give us a second round pick.
Yeah. 3 nuts, your boy. In Langford's defence, the ball delivery has been pathetic. I agree with that, but he has had gilt-edged opportunities to take marks, kick goals, and not done that. The man was our best set shot in the club, just about. Him and Pete were best mates in that regard, and now he's shocking. Yeah, and I'm aware that there were a lot of culprits with that last week.
Yep.
But...
Oh, yeah. Too many. But I don't think you can hide behind ball delivery to Langford. I think
he's had enough opportunities.
Langford's strength when he was playing good footy was he was one-on-one, and he was beating defenders just because of his big frame.
And he was leading.
He played a midfielder role for a long time, or a winger. So he would, if it didn't mark it, like, I remember the play against May earlier in the year, where he just pushed May out of the way and took off and kicked a goal from, on the boundary line. That's what he was doing early in the year. I'm sure it was May against.
It was May. You have nailed the moment, but it was 2023.
Okay, see, well, that's what he was doing last year
before.
Yeah. But that's what I remembered about him. Like that was he didn't matter. He didn't he's never been really the pack guy. He can do that, but it was. Whereas now I've seen him in one-on-one situations, and I just go, for fuck's sake, put in the effort, mate.
But even my issue is, and it's not just him, but it is, he gets the opportunities to score and he misses, and they're shots that I expect to be kicked by a professional footballer. If he's getting it 40 out on the boundary line, I don't care what happens from that scenario. When you are within 30 metres or 40 metres and you're pretty much straight in front, you need to be kicking them 9 out of 10.
Yep.
If I had to say, all right, I'll ask you the question. Do it this way. This will be the last thing we do. This will wrap it up.
Oh, really? Okay.
Well, we've been talking for an hour.
Yep, fair enough.
You have one Essendon player to kick for your life.
Oh, gross.
From 50.
Oh, from 50?
Who does it? Oh, from 40. Because
45.
45. All right, 45. Yep. And comments. I'm asking you too.
Am I allowed to pick Peter Wright still?
You absolutely can. Any Essendon player, I'm asking you that question.
Oh, well, then it's still Peter Wright. I think
from straight in front, 45 out, Pete will save your life.
Yep. If it's 55 out, it's Stringer.
Barrel.
Hell. Peter Wright, this is the one that his kicking's elite. I don't think that's incorrect. Yeah. It's the fact that he has not been able to take a mark in the last 5 or 6 weeks, or when they threw him in the ruck, it was okay, but he was like, I think I would feel comfortable in saying Draper's 2 weeks as a ruck/forward or forward/ruck, probably more forward/ruck, has been better than Draper's. Now, if Pete had kicked, if Draper had kicked 2 or 1 of those last 3 that he missed or whatever, or 2 or 3 that he missed, then yeah, we win the game, and we're in the 8.
Yeah.
But he misses them because if Peter Wright was having those shots, he would have kicked all 3 of them. But he's not taking the mark. So you're in this,
what 6
1 half dozen the other. What came first, chicken or an egg world? I don't know. But
if I can answer the question as well.
Oh, well, Jesus.
It was one of those ones.
It's one of those ones.
Sorry, I thought you would ask me. And,
What?
Snazzy Shoes makes a good point. Redmond on the run. That's not a bad shout.
Oh, Redmond on the run, yes.
On the run, yep. I would go Nate Caddy, purely because if he missed and
gross.
that was the last thing I saw, I'd be happy. The last thing I saw in this world was Nate Cody having a shot at goal.
That's you've got some issues you need to do a walk through with your life. Because you're picking him because you're expecting him to miss, and you're
not expecting him to miss. Just if he
if he does miss, it's the last thing I'll say. It's be beautiful.
That's right. Yeah.
Whereas I'm actually thinking we could win it. With
Can
Peter
I
Wright.
just remind you that you made a joke about cancer earlier? So if we're gonna sort of compare what we need to do in our personal lives and jokes,
I don't think yours was a joke. I think yours was you.
No, I don't want to die.
Desperately
are
in love.
To be funny.
Desperately in love with Caddy.
Cads, yeah, always.
But he is a very good football player too. I can understand the love. In fact, Nick Bryan's becoming my
man
close to favourite. I love a good ruckman.
You know who was my original man love?
I've got over Simon and Madden.
Not as in like my favourite play, but my man crush. Tate Pears.
No? Oh, good looking rooster, Tate Pears.
My first.
He was big unit too. Yeah. Guns.
I remember him against Carlton. Absolutely gave Favola a bath.
Yep.
And,
seemed like a top bloke too, Tate. Like somebody you gave a beer with.
He was a firefighter, wasn't he? After he retired.
Seems like a good bloke like
Absolute unit.
Yep.
Anyway. Dersma Durham for the kick from 50. Lloyd, even now. Lloyd.
A few Peter Wrights. Right, he's more further out than close. Yeah. Langford were kicking from all directions. Now he's got the yips. Yeah, and then that happened around that Collingwood game, didn't it? The drawn game. He missed a couple there. And then we had a few bad weeks of him missing everything. And then they had a kicking practice. And then he was back. And then he's back to...
I'll tell you who's in a bit of form with his kicking at goal. It's a very small sample size, but Harry Jones.
Yeah.
I have seen him have like 2 or 3 shots at goal, and he has absolutely flushed them. Like, not direction or anything, but just the way it hits his boot.
Yep.
It's a thing of beauty.
But his first year, what was his stats? Like he...
Oh, well, he missed...
Something amazing.
He didn't miss for like 15 weeks.
I thought he missed the first couple. Then
he was shocking and he got criticised.
Yep.
Then he didn't miss for 15 weeks, and then he missed in that Collingwood game where Elliott kicked the goal after the siren.
Yes.
Good times. All right.
Good times.
Finally, can I just grab a tip, please? Essendon by...
Well, no, yes, I do actually. I genuinely think this week, Essendon,
I know.
I've tipped us by 16.
Dons by 16. I'm going to try the reverse because last week I tipped us by 60-something.
Yeah, that was
foolish in hindsight, yep. I'm going to tip Sydney by 48 and with a bit of a reverse psychology kind of.
Okay, yep. So we win by a kick after the siren?
Kind of sitch. I don't know if I could handle that. But
well, hang on. Didn't we... What was the difference between the Freo game? That was 2 points, was it?
1.
So we've gone 1 point win, 1 point loss.
Yep. Be a draw this week.
Could you have a 1 point win again after that? Like that would be...
I think as supporters we've had enough to be...
Why not? Let's push our hearts a little bit further. A little
truthful.
bit closer to being cracked and heartbroken and broken in half and having heart attacks.
As if we haven't had enough of that.
1 by 90. Citygate Studio. Why do you even listen to us?
Well, we sit here and talk about how we're going to lose and then tip Essendon. So, I mean, apart from the tip, we probably agree.
No, we don't. Citygate.
Oops. Oh, dear. All right. Anything else to say?
Yeah, I just look forward to the review when we get it all wrong.
Well, we'll be watching it together tomorrow night.
Oh,
maybe we should do lives for that. And just sit here in silence and crap on.
Oh, I'd have to get up and wheel the time.
That's all right. I can deal with that in that sort of scenario. When you left me that one time, that was not fun.
When did I leave you one time?
Oh, like 12 months ago, you had to leave. You were busting, and I had to sit here live and talk to people, and it was the most awkward experience of my life. Which is saying something because I'm a pretty awkward dude.
Got the bladder of a small child.
You do have a.
That I've got like some sort of cancer in my stomach. I don't know what it is. Got another cancer joke again.
Just not go to cancer. I mean.
Oh, okay. Sorry. Is Mackay injured? Cracked ribs, ab strain.
No, he's making a joke about the zero bravery in the contest.
All right, yep.
Yeah. All right. Thanks for tuning in. Appreciate your support. It's been a huge 60 people pretty much watching throughout the whole thing. That's quite a jump from last week. So
6.
we must be doing something right there. So, yeah, appreciate your company. Hit subscribe. Lots of love and go Dons.
Go Bombers!